brand new MMORPG The Quinfall is launching this week, whether it's the 24th or the 25th, I'm not quite sure yet. It does actually say the 24th on Steam and then the 25th on all of their socials, so we'll see which day it comes out. But this is a very ambitious MMORPG set in a very vast fantasy world. It's developed by a Turkish studio, Vorek Technologies I think you say it, and it's entering early access this week, so it's not a full release, it is early access. Now, I did think that this was a free-to-play MMORPG. I'm pretty sure I've read this somewhere before, but now it seems that you might have to actually pay to play this game, and it's being estimated anywhere from sort of $20 to $60 to play this MMORPG. So if we have a look at some of the key features that you might find in this, the main big overall selling point of this whole game is the huge open world. It's going to be over 2,016 square kilometers in size, which is an absolutely huge map. It's claiming to be the biggest MMORPG ever created. And we'll talk a bit more about this in a second. A few other things include the seamless gameplay, diverse biomes, the weather, seasons, the day-night cycle that affects gameplay, the player-driven economy, the multiple classes and professions, and then the strategic combat. Some pretty ambitious things in there. Now, this game hasn't gone without its fair share of controversy along the way. So about this time last year, there was some critics that pointed out the game was heavily reliant on paid assets and like prefabricated models, which did raise some concern about the sort of originality of the game and like the development authenticity. And even at one point, people were questioning whether that this was The Quinfall being a real game. Is it even real? And this was only made worse by the developers when they were found to have like edited stock photos to represent their studio on their website, and they were kind of talking about the studio, and there's a picture that's not even real. So there was a lot of skeptics out there that are really concerned about the game's legitimacy. Then there was the announcement of the open beta tests a long time ago that would require payment, that sparked a lot of debates. Traditionally, like, open betas are kind of open to the public to play, so you can kind of enjoy that, test it, give that feedback, and they can get a wide variety of players getting in there. The other big criticism is the lack of demonstrable kind of evidence to support the claims that the game's capacity will be sort of 10,000 players on a single server. So there's a lot of things here that have raised eyebrows, like pushed forward a lot of question marks regarding this game. In response, the developers have addressed some of the issues on their official Discord, and they also decided to hold some actual open beta testing midway through 2024, which did help to kind of make people realise this is actually a real game. Now, The Quinfall became real during that phase as people were able to test it. I was able to get in there as well, and they did invite a lot of creators in to try and get a kind of to get people playing and talking about the game. So a few things from my own experience. The open world obviously was very impressive. It's huge, a massive open world. The problem was with it was very empty. It wasn't very engaging. The kind of sound dynamics weren't very good. There was a lot of different things that just, it's all well and good having this vast open world, this huge map, but if there's nothing in it to keep you like entertained or interested, then kind of what's the point? I'd rather have a smaller map that has lots of engaging biomes, features, like key areas and enemies to kill, things to discover, caves to go into. Do you know what I mean? Like, that makes more sense to me rather than having this huge, massive open world with nothing in it. The other major problem I had was it was absolutely riddled with bugs. So I had to skip the tutorial, so I was playing through the tutorial, I got stuck in between two rocks, I wasn't able to get out of that, I was just stuck and there wasn't a way to unstick, so I had to just skip the tutorial, and then kind of that was that. One of the other things was attacking enemies stopped working at one point, so I was like attacking them, they were attacking me, I wasn't doing any damage, I wasn't physically able to kill anything, and so like that, what? The basic function of an MMORPG is to kill enemies, and I'm not able to do it. So yeah, that was pretty disappointing. And then there's just many things in the game that are not very intuitive. So I had to search through the settings to find out how to dismount, for example. Like, it wasn't a simple thing, it wasn't just a quick button click. I had to go and search for the actual button to press to get off the mount that I just received. So Up to this point, not very good first impressions from my point of view, so it's a bit awkward in that sense. When we look at like the combat, I've played a lot of different MMOs, I've played a lot of RPGs, I've played a lot of games, and the combat, in my opinion, is pretty awful. Now, when we look past the pre-bought assets, and like when you cast a spell, it's just a spell that does an animation that like is bought from an asset store. So like there's nothing unique about it, there's nothing exciting about it. But then the bigger issue is the fact that you kind of just swinging a weapon around. So you swing in the sword, you swing in the weapon around, there's no impact, the weapon doesn't have any impact. There's no focus onto an enemy that you're hitting. You don't know if you actually hit the enemy. So I did a bit of PvP, there's like a battleground mode, and like I was just, my weapon was just swinging around, my character was just kind of moving, kind of erratically, and it's difficult to see actually where the hitbox is if you're hitting anything. It doesn't really work. It's just very odd, and nothing is particularly fun about it. There was nothing that I was thinking, wow, this is great. There was nothing good about it whatsoever. When I think about it realistically, I do feel that early access for the Quinfall seems like it might have come about a bit too soon. From my experience playing this game a few months ago, I struggle to see how they kind of vastly improve things to make it worth playing from just like, let's say 6 months ago. There's no way that they've improved that much stuff in 6 months that now it's like this great game that's going to be fun to play, because there was nothing good about it before. My understanding was that it was going to be free to play, but now it's apparently not going to be. So I don't think it's going to be worth investing money to play this game, especially since this is just early access. So early access could last years, and I'm also not sure that it'll ever make it out of that phase. Now, the controversy surrounding this game earlier on that I mentioned, I think it's actually made this game more popular. Like the people talking about it, talking about the bought assets, talking about it not being real, talking about it being a scam, all these kinds of things. Like we know it's not necessarily a full scam at this point, but I think that's really made more people aware of the game, and it's actually made it more popular than it would have been without the controversy, which is a strange way to promote an MMORPG. It's going into early access. I'm not convinced that the early access situation actually works. So when these MMORPGs go into early access, they go in, first few days there's a lot of players, people start to fade away very quickly because there's not enough content, the game's filled with problems, and then like, how do you rebuild that reputation in the future? It's almost impossible. And I don't really know of any early access MMOs that have struggled, which is most of them, in early access and then went on to be a really successful game later on. Like, don't really get it. If you mess up early access, people like have already got a bad idea of the game's already got a bad reputation, the game's got bad reviews, there's a lack of interest from players, it's impossible to gain new players into the game because when they go and look at reviews and information online, it's all negative. So I don't know how early access really benefits an MMORPG, because it never does what you think it's going to do. So early access is always promoted as a way for you to shape the future of the game, but that never actually seems to happen. It just makes people not want to play it in the future. So overall, with the Quinfall, it is releasing either on Friday or Saturday this week, depending on whichever information is correct, whether it's the Steam information or whether it's the information on their direct socials. So keep an eye out to check this one out. I am probably going to give it a try. Like, I shouldn't, and I know I should think really about this and I shouldn't try it, but I will, and I'll let you know what I think. We'll see what happens next week, and yeah, if you do get to give it a try, please let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Bye bye for now.